the State of the Union speech by President Trump, and you're welcome to join me. Let's get started here. They're entering the building.
He's very instrumental in this administration.
Oh, very much so.
Especially during the Doge cuts earlier this year. And then DNI Director Tulsi Gabbard.
Is that Tulsi? Yep, there she is.
Kind of a homecoming for her, too. Former House member.
Democrat from Hawaii, in fact. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm noting we haven't seen Brooke Rollins yet, the Agriculture Secretary.
And do you know, I think Greta told us earlier that the Ag Secretary is the most frequent designated survivor.
Oh, there she is, though.
Oh, there's Brooke. Brooke Rollins
Secretary
is there.
Lutnick, and then
Lutnick is there. Commerce.
Behind Rollins.
Transportation. We saw Scott
Duffy. Sean
Duffy. Sean Duffy, sorry.
Jameson Greer,
that was Scott Turner in front of him of HUD.
And we have Kelly Loeffler.
Small Business Administration.
I was banking on her being. I don't know why, but that's who I guessed.
Well, my guess before was Chris Wright of Energy. I don't think we've seen her yet.
That's a good one. We
I
haven't
could
seen
be
him.
the winner of the 50 cents. Yeah.
Oh, wait, is that?
Or is that
I think
Chris
that's him
behind
right
him?
there. Yeah.
Who's behind him? Yeah.
I don't think we have a designated survivor.
I think Christine Secretary, right?
Because Kelly Loeffler of Small Business, she was a former senator from Georgia who got defeated by John Ossoff.
It'd be interesting if we see any of FCNI Director Radcliffe.
CIA.
CIA. Yeah, Mr. Radcliffe, former member of the House from Texas.
And Steve Witkoff, the president's Middle East
advisor. Good on him.
Going to have peace talks or nuclear talks with Iran on Thursday.
It's so interesting. John Radcliffe used to be on all the cable news channels on a frequent basis. And then he became CIA director. We haven't seen him since. When he was a member of Congress, he was always on TV. Oh, there's RFK taking pictures, RFK Jr.
In terms of active members of the cabinet, you're right. He isn't on TV as often as some of them are.
Yeah, and usually the CIA directors aren't.
That's true. It's a job that's tricky to be on the airwaves all the time. I'm interested if any Democrats.
So here we are on C-SPAN 2.
Gray hair.
And awaiting the arrival of all the dignitaries.
Yeah, long-time congressman.
Eventually the president
for the
State of the Union speech.
Don Jr.
I believe that was...
There's Susie Wiles again.
Christy Nome, some fellow...
In case you can't figure out where to watch it, we're going to try to broadcast it live today.
With Christy Nome, I think they have things
they want to discuss. Now, Rubio.
Hi, Craig. Thanks for joining us.
Not seen Lori.
No, I did not catch that interview. But it is recorded, so I can go back and listen to it. What did you think?
Right. We think we saw him. Doug Burgum, Brooke Rollins, Doug Collins.
Doug Collins.
Have we seen Doug
And
Collins?
Craig is asking, for those of you that can't see, Craig's asking if I watched the Michael
because we've
Dukes
seen
interview with
McMahon,
Bernadette
Zeldin,
Wilson today.
Lutnick, Besson,
that would be this morning
Nome,
on Michael
Bondi,
Duke's show.
Gabbard, Turner, Duffy, and Loeffler.
Wow.
Oof.
Double duty, possibly
There
for
we go.
the
I think
VA
we got
secretary.
it. I think we got it.
Maybe
Doug
he
Collins.
enjoyed his time so much, his alone time. I'm always curious what they are doing when they just hang out and watch the speech.
Now, is Doug Collins running for Senate in Virginia or in Georgia? No. Okay.
I don't believe so. He did
because
before.
I know there's a Republican primary. That's it. He did before.
Yeah.
But there is a Republican primary to take on Mr. Ossoff, who's up for re-election this year.
Anybody know if the Democrats chose to
There's a
boycott
three-way primary that's pretty tight in Georgia. Buddy Carter, a member of Congress, Mike Collins, and
Mike Collins. That's it.
And then there's Mr. Dooley, who is
like
I believe backed by Governor. Yeah.
I think what's also notable is this is the same cabinet the president started with. This is the crew that walked down last year for the joint session.
Nobody has left yet, has
There's obviously speculation over who will be the first, but yeah, we're now in February and everyone's intact.
And I didn't see Eric Trump with the family yet. We saw Don Jr., we saw Barron, we saw Ivanka. I don't think I've seen
I think they
Eric or the other woman, the other young lady that is his family.
I believe I saw Tiffany.
Did you see
But I
Tiffany?
haven't seen
this
Eric.
morning on
I thought I saw
KSRM
Eric.
program
Tiffany
off of
was
Dwayne
there.
Bannock
Tiffany was
down
there.
here on the Kenai.
Wife, former head of the RNC. She's often comes to these
He
events
brought
as
up
well.
something.
She's got
The
her-
conversation
she's
was
got her
around
own
the
children.
royal family
Mhm.
in England. And I can't help but think, watching everybody coming into here,
So it's 5 after 9.
how Americans are tuned
We're
to
expecting a 2-hour speech.
this
In a minute,
spectacle, and this
Clerk
is
of the
our
House will
royals.
come in and say,
Or
Mr.
these
Speaker,
are our royals,
President of the
right?
United States.
They come and go with
Maybe some
elections, but
cheers, some boos.
this
We'll
is
listen
who we
to the
look to
president
lead
as he walks down
and
the aisle. We hope we can hear better than we can hear during
representation
this
of our
portion.
people for us.
It's fun to watch everybody
Similar to
walk in. I mean, this is a big night in Washington, like you said. Huge
a royal
security
family
event
in
because
England, I guess.
everybody is in one room. So Chuck Schumer, John Thune, Mike Johnson, the vice president, the whole gang is, in that room.
It looks like I'm always interested in who's grabbing the aisle seats to get the entrance greetings with the people coming down the center aisle.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
Leadership is behind him.
Uh-oh. Is anybody going to tell him that he's got flyaways? Do you think anybody will tell him? Where did you hear that? Just curious. It is. I have heard that is the word, but I don't know where it came from.
Trying to keep them on time.
I'm gonna try a selfie.
You got one shot at this guy. Don't mess it up. Lisa, which vote are you referring to? Got it, Craig. Amy Demboski's show, is that what you're talking about? Here locally in Alaska, Anchorage? If you got questions, Lisa, you can send them to producer at, I'll just put it up here on the screen so you can see it. Speeches are a hard thing to do, especially for the length of time that he's going to be giving it. Although he does have a teleprompter, he just has to read. it is an art. I've never actually given a speech off a teleprompter like that. I have sat right underneath the teleprompter on the House floor as Governor Dunleavy's giving his State of the State speech. And I'm able to read the speech upside down and backwards as it's scrolling. Those people are not clapping. They look sour-faced.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's really an honor. Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance, First Lady of the United States. Second Lady of the United States. Members of Congress and my fellow Americans, our nation is back, bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before. Less than 5 months from now, our country will celebrate an epic milestone in American history, the 250th anniversary of our glorious American independence. This July 4th, we will mark 2.5 centuries of liberty and triumph, progress and freedom in the most incredible and exceptional nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. And you've seen nothing yet. We're going to do better and better and better. This is the golden age of America. When I last spoke in this chamber 12 months ago, I had just inherited a nation in crisis with a stagnant economy, inflation at record levels, a wide open border, horrendous recruitment for military and police, rampant crime at home, and wars and chaos all over the world. But tonight, after just 1 year, I can say with dignity and pride that we have achieved a transformation like no one has ever seen before, and a turnaround for the ages. It is indeed a turnaround for the ages.
Yeah, I think history will show that he's been the most active president in the first year of office, for sure, without a doubt. I'm going to make a spectacle of it.
And we will never go back to where we were just a very short time ago. We're not going back. Today, our border is secure.
The house is a rowdy place, right?
Today, our border is secure. Our spirit is restored. Inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising fast. The roaring economy is roaring like never before. And our enemies are scared. Our military and police are stacked. And America is respected again, perhaps like never before.
Now, respected does not necessarily mean liked.
After 4 years in which millions and millions of illegal aliens poured across our borders, totally unvetted and unchecked, we now have the strongest and most secure border in American history by far. In the past 9 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States. But we will always allow people to come in legally, people that will love our country and will work hard to maintain our country. The flow of deadly fentanyl across our border is down by a record 56% in 1 year.
Interesting statistic. I wonder how we know that.
And last year, the murder rate saw its single largest decline in recorded history. This is the biggest decline, think of it, in recorded history, the lowest number in over 125 years, year 1900. In fact, substantially before my wonderful father, I had a wonderful father, Fred, before he was born, substantially before he was born. That's a long time ago. He wouldn't like me to say that, but that's a long time ago. The Biden administration and its allies in Congress gave us the worst inflation in the history of our country. But in 12 months, my administration has driven core inflation down to the lowest level in more than 5 years. And in the last 3 months of 2025, it was down to 1.7%.
Okay, we're going to hear about the tariffs here soon.
Gasoline, which reached a peak of over $6 a gallon in some states under my predecessor, it was quite honestly a disaster, is now below $2.30 a gallon in most states, and in some places, $1.99 a gallon. And when I visited the great state of Iowa just a few weeks ago, I even saw $1.85 a gallon for gasoline.
Good for America and not so good for Alaska.
Mortgage rates are the lowest in 4 years and falling fast, and the annual cost of a typical new mortgage is down almost $5,000 just since I took office. 1 year. And low interest rates will solve the Biden-created housing problem well, at the same time protecting the values of those people who already own a house that really feel rich for the first time in their lives. We want to protect those values. We want to keep those values up. We're going to do both. And we are going to keep it that way. The stock market has set 53 all-time record highs since the election. Think of that, 1 year. Boosting pensions, 401ks, and retirement accounts for the millions and millions of Americans. They're all gaining. Everybody's up, way up. In 4 long years, the last administration got less than $1 trillion in new investment in the United States. And when I say less, substantially less. In 12 months, I secured commitments for more than $18 trillion pouring in from all over the globe. Think of it, much less than $1 trillion for 4 years versus much more than $18 trillion for 1 year. What a difference a president makes. A short time ago, we were a dead country. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world, the hottest.
It's going to take that heat to dig ourselves out of debt.
As thousands of new businesses are forming in factories, plants, and laboratories are being built, we have added 70,000 new construction jobs in just a very short period of time. It's getting bigger and bigger and stronger. Nobody can believe what they're watching. American oil production is up by more than 600,000 barrels a day, and we just received from our new friend and partner, Venezuela, more than 80 million barrels of oil. American natural gas production is at an all-time high because I kept my promise to drill, baby, drill.
Attaboy.
More Americans are working today than at any time in the history of our country. Think about that. Any time in the history of our country, more working today. And 100% of all jobs created under my administration have been in the private sector. We ended DEI in America.
Yeah, I hope that's dead.
We cut a record number of job-killing regulations, and in 1 year, we have lifted 2.4 million Americans, a record, off of food stamps. And for all of these reasons, I say tonight, members of Congress, the state of our union is strong.
Yeah, we really do have to have a diversification of our economy here in
country is
Alaska.
winning again. In fact, we're winning so much that we really don't know what to do about it. People are asking me, please, 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 Mr. President, we're winning too much. We can't take it anymore. We're not used to winning in our country. Until you came along, we're just always losing, but now we're winning too much. And I say, no, 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 you're going to win again. You're going to win big. You're going to win bigger than ever. And to prove that point, here with us tonight is a group of winners who just made the entire nation proud. The men's gold medal Olympic hockey team. Come on in.
Well, that's something they won't forget. Right by the press, right by all the reporters, sour faces.
Go ahead. Ladies. That's the first time I've ever seen them get up. And actually, not all of them did get up. But they beat a fantastic Canadian team in overtime, as everybody saw, as did the American women who will soon be coming to the White House.
Now they're going to get up and clap. He could have the cure for cancer. Those people would still boo him. And that's amazing.
They were in the Oval Office before. And I just want to say a second very big congratulations to Team USA. But I have to say that, and I told them this, and we took a vote of the team. I said, anybody votes no, I'm not doing it. So they stood there, and they weren't about to say no, because I'd never seen a goaltender play as well as goalie Connor Hellebuck. Think of it, 46 shots on goal, and I asked him, the one shot, the one where you put your stick in the back and it hit the neck of your stick and bounced off. Do you practice that, or was that a little lucky? He refused to answer that question. But I just want to tell you that the members of this great hockey squad will be very happy to hear, based on their vote and my vote, and in this case, my vote was more important, that I will soon be presenting Connor with our highest civilian honor, which we will be given and which has been given to many athletes over the years. But when I say many, not too many, like 12, it's called the highest civilian honor in our country, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Great athletes have gotten that, very great, the best, and I thought he deserved it. And I did take a vote, every single one of them. I said, I'm not giving it if anybody goes no, and every single one of them rapidly put up their hand. So I want to thank you all. What a special job you did. What special champions you are. Thank you very much. I'm also pleased to say that the next time the Olympic torch is lit, it will be here in America for the 2028 Olympics, and it's the summer version right in Los Angeles. We're going to do a good job in Los Angeles. And Los Angeles is going to be safe, just like Washington, D.C. is now one of the safest cities in the country. And this year, and I must say I got them both. I got them in my first term, and I was disappointed because I didn't think I'd be the president when this happened. But strange things took place. And now I've got them because I got the Olympics and I got the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And I wanted to claim the 250th, but I didn't get away with that one. I couldn't claim that one for myself. But we're getting the World Cup. So we have the World Cup and the Olympics coming. And that is exciting news. So this will be a year to celebrate our country and the heroes who have kept it free. Men like Buddy Taggart. At age 17, Buddy volunteered to defend America in World War II, serving in the Pacific under the great General Douglas MacArthur. He fought bravely in the famous Battle of Manila, worked so hard. He was badly wounded and almost killed by enemy machine guns in Luzon. And 81 years ago this month, he liberated the largest internment camp in the Philippines, one of the largest anywhere in the world. But he earned many honors, including a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star, came home, started a family, and tonight he is in the gallery looking forward to July 4th, 2026, his 100th birthday.
Looks good. My, what a different country he's watching now than the one he served.
So, Buddy, you're a brave man, and we salute you. Even in times of challenge, setback, and immense heartache, the spirit of 1776 has always shone through very brightly. It was July 4th of last year when floodwaters tore through a girls' summer camp in Central Texas. One of the worst things I've ever seen. I was there, rising 26 feet in the matter of minutes, tragically claiming many, many lives. You all remember that one. As the waters threatened to sweep her away, 11-year-old Millie Kate McClelland closed her eyes and prayed to God. She thought she was going to die. Those prayers were answered when Coast Guard rescue swimmer Scott Ruskin descended from a helicopter above. Nobody knew where he came from. It was Scott's first ever rescue mission. A young guy, but very brave, very, very top, always top in his class. And he lifted not just Millie Kate, but 164 others to safety.
For him. Maybe it was a couple days. I don't know.
People watched Scott from a distance, and they couldn't believe what they were seeing. The winds were blowing, the rain was pouring, everything was going, and that rapid water, nobody's ever seen anything like it. They said, wow, that's something. Tonight, Scott and Millie Kate are here together, reunited for the very first time. Thank you, Scott, Millie Kate. And Petty Officer Ruskin, I'm pleased to inform you that I am now awarding you the Legion of Merit for extraordinary heroism, which is what it was, extraordinary heroism. Thank you. And I'd like to have the military aide to please come down and take care of the service. Military aide, thank you very much. Take care of that very important service.
I think they just did,
Thank you very much.
Mr. President.
From 1776 to today, every generation of Americans has stepped forward to defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And they're really doing it for the next generation. But now it's our turn. Together, we're building a nation where every child has the chance to reach higher and go further, where government answers to the people, not the powerful, and where the interests of hardworking American citizens are always our first and ultimate concern. That is the debt we owe to the heroes who came before us, and that is the promise we must keep to America for our 250th year. Last year, I urged this Congress to begin the mission by passing the largest tax cuts in American history, and our Republican majorities delivered so beautifully. Thank you, Republicans. All Democrats, every single one of them, voted against these really important and very necessary massive tax cuts.
Got all the Democrats. Hubris.
Large-scale tax
Happy that they voted
increases
against.
to hurt the people instead.
Happy that they voted against tax cuts.
But we held
tax cuts.
strong, and with the great, big, beautiful bill, we gave you no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors.
Now can you give us a balanced budget?
And we also made interest on auto loans tax deductible the first time, but only if the car is made in America.
Interesting.
Recently in Pennsylvania, I met Megan Hemhauser, a devoted mom who's homeschools her children, beautiful, 2 children, during the day while waiting tables at night as her husband works overtime operating very heavy equipment. Megan is here this evening, and she's happy to tell you that she is so much richer because with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and our expanded child tax credit done again by Republicans, Megan and her husband will take home more than $5,000 extra just for the year, cutting her tax bill in more than half. Megan, please stand up. We're fighting for you, Megan. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Megan. We're fighting for you, Megan. Under our bill, parents like Megan can also activate their children's brand new Trump accounts. And I didn't name it. I did not name that.
That was the
Nobody
auto pen.
believes me, but I did not name it. It was named by a very tall man sitting right there in the third row. Nice man, a good man. Tax-free investment accounts for every American child. This is something that's so special and has taken off and gone through the roof. Millions will be pre-funded courtesy of the U.S. Treasury and private individuals like Michael and Susan Dell, who have donated $6.25 billion to fund the Trump accounts for 25 million American children.
Pretty impressive.
They're great people. When I asked Michael Dell, how do you make all that money? He said, well, I just sat on my dorm in school and I made computers and I'd sell them to people. And I just kept selling and selling and selling. And pretty amazing story. That's called the American dream. He sold a lot of computers, a lot of those laptops. So I congratulate him on that. But I really thank him and Susan, as well as others like Brad Gerstner, a very tremendous guy. He was behind it right from the beginning. Brad Gerstner. Thank you, Brad. So with modest additional contributions, these young people's accounts could grow to over $100,000 or more by the time they turn 18. Think of it. How much money is that for somebody that started with nothing? Over 100,000, could be much more than that. To make this investment in our children's future, go to trumpaccounts.gov, trumpaccounts.gov. And a lot of people are doing it. It's setting every record in the book. It's popular. They knew what it was going to take. I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of the people that got it started. And now it's just taken off. One of the primary reasons for our country's stunning economic turnaround, the biggest in history, where the Dow Jones broke 50,000 4 years ahead of schedule, and the S&P hit 7,000, where it wasn't supposed to do it for many years, were tariffs. I used these tariffs, took in hundreds of billions of dollars to make great deals for our country, both economically and on a national security basis. Everything was working well. Countries that were ripping us off for decades are now paying us hundreds of billions of dollars. They were ripping us so badly, you all know that. Everybody knows it. Even the Democrats know it. They just don't want to say it. And yet these countries are now happy, and so are we. We made deals. The deals are all done. And they're happy. They're not making money like they used to, but we're making a lot of money. There was no inflation, tremendous growth. And the big story was how Donald Trump called the economy correctly, and 22 Nobel Prize winners in economics didn't. They got it totally wrong. They got it really wrong. And then just 4 days ago, an unfortunate ruling from the United States Supreme Court. It just came down. It came down. Very unfortunate ruling. But the good news is that almost all countries and corporations want to keep the deal that they already made, right, Scott? Knowing that the legal power that I, as president, have to make a new deal could be far worse for them, and therefore they will continue to work along the same successful path that we had negotiated before the Supreme Court's unfortunate involvement. So despite the disappointing ruling, these powerful country saving, it's saving our country, the kind of money we're taking in, peace protecting. Many of the wars I settled was because of the threat of tariffs. I wouldn't have been able to settle them without. Will remain in place under fully approved and tested alternative legal statutes. And they have been tested for a long time. They're a little more complex, but they're actually probably better, leading to a solution that will be even stronger than before. Congressional action will not be necessary. It's already time tested and approved. And as time goes by, I believe the tariffs paid for by foreign countries will, like in the past, substantially replace the modern day system of income tax, taking a great financial burden off the people that I love.
At one point in time, we paid down our entire national debt with tariffs. And I think this could be the same case here, because
Moving forward, factories, jobs, investment, and trillions of dollars will continue pouring into the United States of America, because we finally have a president who puts America first. I put America first. I love America.
Because of our unbalanced budget. So you get to invest for their savings, but they're already in debt.
We had the exact opposite. From trade to healthcare, from energy to immigration, everything was stolen and rigged in order to drain the wealth out of the productive, hardworking people who make our country great, who make our country run. Under Biden and his corrupt partners in Congress and beyond, it reached a breaking point with the Green New scam, open borders for everyone. They poured in by the millions and millions from prisons, from mental institutions. They were murderers, 11,888 murders. They came into our country. You allowed that to happen. And record-setting inflation that cost the typical family $34,000 in just a speck of time. Now the same people in this chamber who voted for those disasters suddenly used the word affordability, a word they just used it. Somebody gave it to them, knowing full well that they caused and created the increased prices that all of our citizens had to endure. You caused that problem. You caused that problem. They knew their statements were a lie. They knew it. They knew their statements were a dirty, rotten lie. Their policies created the high prices. Our policies are rapidly ending them. We are doing really well. Those prices are plummeting downward. The price of eggs is down 60%. Madam Secretary, thank you. The cost of chicken, butter, fruit, hotels, automobiles, rent is lower today than when I took office by a lot. And even beef, which was very high, is starting to come down significantly. Just hold on a little while. We're getting it down. And soon you will see numbers that few people would think were possible to achieve just a short time ago. Nobody can believe when they see the kind of numbers, and especially energy, when they see energy going down to numbers like that, they cannot believe it. It's like another big tax cut. I'm also confronting one of the biggest ripoffs of our times, the crushing cost of health care caused by you. Since the passage of the Unaffordable Care Act, sometimes referred to as Obamacare, big insurance company has gotten rich. It was meant for the insurance companies, not for the people. With our government giving them hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars a year as their stock prices soared 1,000, 1,200, 1,400, and even 1,700%, like nothing else. That's why I introduced the great healthcare plan. I want to stop all payments to big insurance companies and instead give that money directly to the people so they can buy their own health care, which will be better health care at a much lower cost.
Get the government out of it, Mr. President.
In addition, my plan requires maximum price transparency. That's a big deal. Sounds so simple, so big. And I did that in my first term, and the Democrats immediately terminated it with full knowledge that they were doing a very bad thing for the people. Costs were going to go way up, and that's what happened. And now I'm bringing them way down on healthcare and everything else. I'm also ending the wildly inflated cost of prescription drugs like has never happened before. Other presidents tried to do it, but they never could. They tried. Most didn't try, actually. But they tried. They said they tried. They couldn't do it. They didn't even come close. They were all talk and no action, but I got it done. Under my just enacted most favored nation agreements, Americans who have for decades paid by far the highest prices of any nation anywhere in the world for prescription drugs will now pay the lowest price anywhere in the world for drugs. Anywhere, the lowest price. So in my first year of the second term, should be my third term, but strange things happen. I took prescription drugs, a very big part of healthcare, from the highest price in the entire world to the lowest. That's a big achievement. The result is price differences of 300, 400, 500, 600% and more. All available right now at a new website called TrumpRx.gov. And I didn't name that one either, by the way.
He sure knows how to troll those Democrats, doesn't he?
And here tonight is the very first customer ever to get that big discount, and it is big. Catherine Rayner. For 5 years, she and her husband have struggled with infertility, and they turned to IVF. One drug has been costing Catherine $4,000 to purchase. But a few weeks ago, she logged onto the Trump RX website and got that same drug that cost $4,000, got it for under $500, a reduction of much more, actually, than $3,500. Catherine, we are all praying for you, and you're going to be a great mom. So now I'm calling on Congress to codify my most favored nation program into law. Now, the one thing, I'm not sure it matters because it's going to be very hard for somebody that comes along after me to say, let's raise drug prices by 700 or 800%. But John and Mike, if you don't mind, codify it anyway. They may do it. Codify it anyway. Thank you. Many Americans are also concerned that energy demand from AI data centers could unfairly drive up their electric utility bills. Tonight, I'm pleased to announce that I have negotiated the new Ratepayer Protection Pledge. You know what that is? We're telling the major tech companies that they have the obligation to provide for their own power needs. They can build their own power plants as part of their factory so that no one's prices will go up. And in many cases, prices of electricity will go down for the community, and very substantially down. This is a unique strategy never used in this country before. We have an old grid. It could never handle the kind of numbers, the amount of electricity that's needed. So I'm telling them they can build their own plant. They're going to produce their own electricity. It will ensure the company's ability to get electricity while at the same time lowering prices of electricity for you, and could be very substantial for all of you cities and towns. You're going to see some good things happen over the next number of years. Another pillar of the American dream that has been under attack is home ownership. With us tonight is Rachel Wiggins, a mom of two from Houston. She placed bids on 20 homes and lost all of those bids to gigantic investment firms that bypassed inspection, paid all cash, and turned those houses into rentals, stealing away her American dream. She was devastated. Stories like this are why last month I signed executive order to ban large Wall Street investment firms from buying up into thousands single-family homes. And now I'm asking Congress to make that ban permanent, because homes for people, really, that's what we want. We want homes for people, not for corporations. Corporations are doing just fine. Rachel, thank you very much. Good luck with your home. You'll get one soon. We're also working to make it easier for Americans to save for retirement. And under this administration, we will always protect Social Security and Medicare. They are not protecting it for our seniors. We will always protect Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Since I took office, the typical 401k balance is up by at least $30,000. That's a lot of money. We have millions and millions of people, because the stock market has done so well, setting all those records. Your 401ks are way up. Yet half of all of working Americans still do not have access to a retirement plan with matching contributions from an employer. To remedy this gross disparity, I'm announcing that next year my administration will give these often forgotten American workers, great people, the people that built our country, access to the same type of retirement plan offered to every federal worker. We will match your contribution with up to $1,000 each year. As we ensure that all Americans can profit from a rising stock market, let's also ensure that Members of Congress cannot corruptly profit from using insider information.
How do you even stay seated when he says something like that? How do you do that?
They stood up for that. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Did Nancy Pelosi stand up if she was here? Doubt it. Pass the Stop Insider Trading Act without delay.
This is called the bully pulpit, right?
I wasn't sure if anybody even on this side was going to applaud for that. I'm very impressed. Thank you. I'm very impressed. But when it comes to the corruption that is plundering, it's plundering America. There's been no more stunning example than Minnesota, where members of the Somali community have pillaged an estimated $19 billion from the American taxpayer. Oh, we have all the information. And in actuality, the number is much higher than that. And California, Massachusetts, Maine, and many other states are even worse. This is the kind of corruption that shreds the fabric of a nation, and we are working on it like you wouldn't believe. So tonight, although started 4 months ago, I am officially announcing the war on fraud to be led by our great Vice President, J.D. Vance.
That's probably something you can stretch out for a couple of years, right?
We'll get it done. And if we're able to find enough of that fraud, we will actually have a balanced budget overnight. It'll go very quickly. That's the kind of money you're talking about. We'll balance our budget. The Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota remind us that there are large parts of the world where bribery, corruption, and lawlessness are the norm, not the exception. Importing these cultures through unrestricted immigration and open borders brings those problems right here to the USA. And it is the American people who pay the price in higher medical bills, car insurance rates, rent, taxes, and perhaps most importantly, crime. We will take care of this problem. We're going to take care of this problem. We are not playing games. Delilah.
How uncomfortable for those people. If the shoe fits, wear it.
Delilah Colton was only 5 years old in June 2024 when a 18-wheel tractor trailer plowed into her stopped car traveling at 60 miles an hour or more. The driver was an illegal alien let in by Joe Biden and given a commercial driver's license by open borders politicians in California. Doctors said Delilah would never be able to walk or talk, have a good life. She wouldn't even be able to eat again. But against all odds, she is now in the first grade learning to walk. And she's here this evening with her dad, Marcus, a fantastic man. Delilah, please, you are a great inspiration. Please stand up. Thank you, Delilah. Many, if not most, illegal aliens do not speak English and cannot read even the most basic road signs as to direction, speed, danger, or location. That's why tonight I'm calling on Congress to pass what we will call the Delilah Law, barring any state from granting commercial driver's licenses to illegal aliens. And yesterday, as you probably saw at the White House, I hosted a ceremony with Americans who lost their treasured loved ones to the scourge of illegal immigration. People came into our country, how we allowed this to happen with our open borders. These are the angel moms and families that for decades our government betrayed and our media totally ignored. It was terrible. Hard to believe, actually. In 2023, a 16-year-old high school cheerleader named Elizabeth Medina was supposed to perform in her town's Christmas parade, but she never arrived. Her mother, Jacqueline, went home to look for her, and she found her lying dead in a bathtub, bleeding profusely after being stabbed 25 times. Elizabeth's killer was a previously arrested illegal alien who had broken in and brutally extinguished the brightest light in her family's life, violently and viciously. Her heartbroken mother is in the gallery to remind everyone in this chamber exactly why we are deporting illegal alien criminals to our country at record numbers, and we're getting them the hell out of here fast. We don't want them. Thank you very much, Jacqueline. Thank you. We can never forget that many in this room not only allowed the border invasion to happen before I got involved, but indeed they would do it all over again if they ever had the chance. If they ever got elected, they would open up those borders to some of the worst criminals anywhere in the world. The only thing standing between Americans and a wide open border right now is President Donald J. Trump and our great Republican patriots in Congress. Thank you. Thank you. As we speak, Democrats in this chamber have cut off all funding for the Department of Homeland Security. It's all cut off. It's all cut off. They have instituted another Democrat shutdown, the first one costing us 2 points on GDP. 2 points we lost on GDP, which probably made them quite happy, actually. Now they have closed the agency responsible for protecting Americans from terrorists and murderers. Tonight, I'm demanding the full and immediate restoration of all funding for the border security, homeland security of the United States, and also for helping people clean up their snow. We have no money because of the Democrats, and it would be nice. We'd love to give you a hand at cleaning it up, but you gave no money. Nobody's getting paid. It's a shame. So you have to think about it. We have, in case you didn't know, a pretty large snowstorm out there. One of the great things about the State of the Union is how it gives Americans the chance to see clearly what their representatives really believe. So tonight, I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
And then he turns and faces the Republicans and turns his back on the Democrats. The guy is trolling them big time.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, right. You're right, Craig, but he's not wrong.
And perhaps most importantly, I'm asking you to approve the Save America Act. To stop illegal aliens and others who are unpermitted persons from voting in our sacred American elections. That cheating is rampant in our elections. It's rampant. It's very simple. All voters must show voter ID.
This is a winning argument with the people.
All voters must show proof of citizenship in order to vote. And no more crooked mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. None. And this should be an easy one. And by the way, it's polling at 89%, including Democrats, 89%. And even the new communist mayor of New York City, I think he's a nice guy, actually. Speak to him a lot. Bad policy, but nice guy. Just said they want people to shovel snow. They got hit hard. Wants them to shovel snow, but if you apply for that job, you need to show 2 original forms of ID and a Social Security card. Yet they don't want identification for the greatest privilege of them all, voting in America. No, it's no good. No good. Both Republicans and Democrats overwhelmingly agree on the policy that we just enunciated. And Congress should unite and enact this common sense, country-saving legislation right now, and it should be before anything else happens. And the reason they don't want to do it, why would anybody not want voter ID? One reason, because they want to cheat. There's only one reason. They make up all excuses. They say it's racist. They come up with things. You almost say, what imagination they have. They want to cheat. They have cheated. And their policy is so bad that the only way they can get elected is to cheat. And we're going to stop it. We have to stop it, Josh. And here is one more opportunity to show common sense in government. In the gallery tonight are Sage Blair and her mother, Michelle. In 2021, Sage was 14 when school officials in Virginia sought to socially transition her to a new gender, treating her as a boy and hiding it from her parents. Hard to believe, isn't it? Before long, a confused Sage ran away from home after she was found in a horrific situation in Maryland. A left-wing judge refused to return Sage to her parents because they did not immediately state that their daughter was their son. Sage was thrown into an all-boys state home and suffered terribly for a long time. But today, all of that is behind them because Sage is a proud and wonderful young woman with a full ride scholarship to Liberty University. Sage and Michelle, please stand up. And thank you for your great bravery. And who can believe that we're even speaking about things like this? 15 years ago, if somebody was up here and said that, they'd say, what's wrong with him? But now we have to say it because it's going on all over numerous states without even telling the parents. But surely we can all agree no state can be allowed to rip children from their parents' arms and transition them to a new gender against the parents' will. Who would believe that we've been talking about this? We must ban it, and we must ban it immediately.
What does this country come to where the federal government has to involve itself like this? It's a culture war.
Look, nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy. Amazing. 7. Boy, oh boy. We're lucky we have a country. With people like this, Democrats are destroying our country, but we've stopped it just in the nick of time, didn't we?
He's swinging for the fence tonight, isn't he?
No one cares more about protecting America's youth than our wonderful First Lady. Now a movie star. She's a movie star. Can you believe it? Who would have believed that? Over the past year, she has had an incredible impact championing AI legislation, advancing a landmark executive order on foster care, and helping secure $30 million to launch the Melania Trump Foster Youth to Independence Initiative. It's a tremendous, really a tremendous thing that happened and had a lot of bipartisan support. She gets much better bipartisan support than I do. I get none. She gets a lot. Someday you're going to have to tell me how you did that. And students and educators in every state have joined the First Lady's efforts in the presidential AI challenge, keeping America's next generation positioned to succeed and strongly succeed in the future. Tonight, we welcome 2 young people whose lives reflect the First Lady's impact, Sierra Burns and Everest Nevermont. Thank you both. And Melania, thank you. I know how hard you worked on it. Thank you very much. I'm very proud to say that during my time in office, both the first 4 years and in particular this last year, there has been a tremendous renewal in religion, faith, Christianity, and belief in God. Tremendous renewal.
Who's going to stand? And who's going to keep sitting in their butts? There's your problem.
This is especially true among young people, and a big part of that had to do with my great friend, Charlie Kirk, a great guy, great man. So last year, Charlie was violently murdered by an assassin and martyred, really martyred for his beliefs. His wonderful wife, Erica, is with us tonight. Erica, please stand. Thank you, Erica. Been through a lot. In Charlie's memory, we must all come together to reaffirm that America is one nation under God, and we must totally reject political violence of any kind. We love religion, and we love bringing it back. And it's coming back at levels that nobody actually thought possible. It's really a beautiful thing to see. Above all, unleashing America's promise requires keeping our communities safe. We have made incredible strides, yet dangerous repeat offenders continue to be released by pro-crime Democrat politicians again and again. We are honored to be joined tonight by a woman who's been through hell, Anya Zarutska. In 2022, she and her beautiful daughter, so beautiful, what a beautiful young woman, Irina, fled war-torn Ukraine to live with relatives near Charlotte, North Carolina. And by the way, what's going on with Charlotte? Last summer, 23-year-old Irina was riding home on the train when a deranged monster who had been arrested over a dozen times and was released through no cash bail, stood up and viciously slashed a knife through her neck and body. No one will ever forget. There were people on that train. No one will ever forget the expression of terror on Irina's face as she looked up at her attacker in the last seconds of her life. She died instantly. She had escaped a brutal war only to be slain by a hardened criminal set free to kill in America, came in through open borders. Mrs. Zarutska, tonight I promise you we will ensure justice for your magnificent daughter, Irina.
And the people on the train that did nothing. Didn't even render aid. They should be charged as well.
How do you not stand? How do you not stand? I'm asking this Congress to pass tough legislation to ensure that violent and dangerous repeat offenders are put behind bars, and importantly, that they stay there. Starting last summer, I deployed our National Guard and federal law enforcement to restore law and order to our most dangerous cities, including Memphis, Tennessee, big success, New Orleans, Louisiana, big success, and our nation's capital itself, Washington, D.C., where we have almost no crime anymore in Washington, D.C. How did that happen? In fact, crime in Washington is now at the lowest level ever recorded, and murders in D.C. this January were down close to 100% from a year ago. They don't like to hear that. One of the sick people, one of the brave service members who helped achieve this stunning turnaround, was 20-year-old West Virginia Army National Guard Specialist Sarah Beckstrom. After a 4-month deployment, she voluntarily extended her service, and her rank was going to be lifted. She was doing so well. They were so proud of her. But the very next day, she was on patrol near the White House when she was ambushed and shot in the head by a terrorist monster from Afghanistan. Shouldn't have been in our country. And all because she wore the uniform of our nation, she was shot. He traveled here because he didn't like people wearing our uniform. He was sick and deranged, shouldn't have been in our country. Sarah Beckstrom died in order to defend our capital, and we are honored to be joined by her wonderful parents, Gary and Evalie. Your daughter was a true American patriot, and she will be greatly missed. She was a great person. I saw reports on her. They've never seen anything like her. So sorry.
There's people
Thank
not
you
even
very
standing.
much. A great young lady.
Phenomenal.
I saw reports that were like, perfect. She was perfect. Serving alongside Sarah that day was Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf. The terrorist shot Andrew in the head, and no one thought he could possibly make it. The two of them, Sarah and Andrew, both shot violently in the head. Neither was expected to make it. They weren't even given a chance, except his wonderful mother, named Melody, who I spoke to the same night, and she was so positive. The doctors thought that Andrew was gone, but his mother said, no, Mr. President, Andrew will be fine. He's going to make it. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, he was given almost no chance. She said, I have no doubt, sir, he's going to be okay. This was a conversation that I had with her that night, with her son laying helplessly in bed, blood all over. Everybody is praying, she said, sir, he will be okay. The doctors didn't understand what she was saying. And after looking at the results of the damage done, neither did I. She was so strong and conclusive that even Andrew's great father felt she didn't really understand the gravity of the situation. But she turned out to be right. Right, Melody? She turned out to be right.
A walking miracle.
Amazing, actually. I said, where does this woman come from? She's the most positive person I've ever met. With God's help, Andrew has battled back from the edge of death, and we're talking about the edge of death, on his way to a miraculous recovery. He's got a little work to do, but he's doing great. Nice to see you. He's a good-looking guy. Nice to see you. Thanks, Andrew. Thank you very much. So, Andrew, while you're up, now I'm going to ask a highly respected General James Seward to present Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf and the great family of Sarah Beckstrom with the award created by our late, great President George Washington himself. It's called the Purple Heart. We love you all. Love you. We're proudly restoring safety for Americans at home, and we are also restoring security for Americans abroad. Our country has never been stronger. In my first 10 months, I ended 8 wars, including Cambodia. Isn't it funny? Sick people. Cambodia and Thailand, Pakistan and India would have been a nuclear war. 35 million people said the Prime Minister of Pakistan would have died if it were not for my involvement. Kosovo and Serbia, Israel and Iran, Egypt and Ethiopia, Armenia and Azerbaijan, the Congo and Rwanda, and of course the war in Gaza, which proceeds at a very low level. It's just about there. And I want to thank Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner for your help. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Jared. And I also want to thank the man they report to, Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Thank you, Marco.
A class act.
People like you. You know, Marco got 100% of the votes when he was in confirmation. I think our next one was about 54%. And some of the Democrats are now saying, I can't believe we approved that guy. And he said it's an honor that they feel that way, right, Marco? You have done a great job, great Secretary of State. I think he'll go down as the best ever.
Presidential material right there for sure.
Under the ceasefire I negotiated, every single hostage, both living and dead, has been returned home. Can you believe that? Nobody thought it was possible. Nobody thought that was possible. Both living and dead. And those parents who had a dead son, their boy, they'd always tell me their boy, they wanted him as much as though he were living. That was an amazing period of time. And they came back, and when we got all of the living hostages back, and many, many before them, but I always said those last 20 are going to be very tough, but we got many, many more, hundreds. But I said those last 20 are going to be tough. We got them back, but we only got back 14 or 15 of the dead of the 28. And believe it or not, Hamas worked along with Israel, and they dug and they dug and they dug. It's a tough thing to do, going through bodies all over, passing up 100 bodies sometimes for each one that they found. Tough job. And they finally got it back to 27. And then Steve and Jared, they got it back to 28. They found all 28. Nobody thought that was possible, but we did it. And I remember the family of the 28th. They were so grieved, but they were so happy as it's possible to be. They had their boy back. The mother said, "Sir, we have our boy back." What a period of time that was, but we got them all back. So thank you both very much. Great job. And we're working very hard to end the 9th war, the killing and slaughter between Russia and Ukraine, where 25,000 soldiers are dying each and every month. Think of that, 25,000 soldiers are dying a month. A war which would have never happened if I were president, would have never happened. As president, I will make peace wherever I can, but I will never hesitate to confront threats to America wherever we must. That's why in a breakthrough operation last June, The United States military obliterated Iran's nuclear weapons program with an attack on Iranian soil known as Operation Midnight Hammer. For decades, it had been the policy of the United States never to allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon. Many decades. Since they seized control of that proud nation 47 years ago, the regime and its murderous proxies have spread nothing but terrorism and death and hate. They've killed and maimed thousands of American service members and hundreds of thousands and even millions of people with what's called roadside bombs. They were the kings of the roadside bomb. And we took out Soleimani. I did that during my first term. Had a huge impact. He was the father of the roadside bomb.
Chief instrument of instability in Iraq was Iran.
And just over the last couple of months with the protests, they've killed at least, it looks like 32,000 protests, 32,000 protesters in their own country. They shot them and hung them. We stopped them from hanging a lot of them with the threat of serious violence. But this is some terrible people. They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America. After Midnight Hammer, they were warned to make no future attempts to rebuild their weapons program, and in particular, nuclear weapons. Yet they continue, starting it all over. We wiped it out, and they want to start all over again, and are at this moment again pursuing their sinister ambitions. We are in negotiations with them. They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon. My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen. And no nation should ever doubt America's resolve. We have the most powerful military on earth. I rebuilt the military in my first term. We're going to continue to do so. Also, we just approved a $1 trillion budget. We have no choice. We have to be strong because hopefully we will seldom have to use this great power that we built together. It's really called Peace Through Strength, and it's been very, very effective. So thanks to Republicans in Congress, we're investing that record number of dollars, have no choice, in the United States Armed Forces. Also creating a lot of jobs, but we're not even doing it for that reason. Because as I said, we have more jobs, more people working today than ever before in the history of our country. And NATO countries are friends and allies. They are. They're our friends and they're our allies. Have just agreed at my very strong request to pay 5% of GDP for military defense rather than the 2%, which they weren't paying. We were paying for almost all of NATO. Now they're paying 5 as opposed to not paying 2. And getting that 5% was something which everyone said would never be done, could not happen. We got it really easily with one meeting. And big difference between 2% that's not paid. We were paying the freight of many of them. Very few were paid up. now 5%, then they're paid. And everything we send over to Ukraine is sent through NATO, and they pay us in full. They pay us totally in full. Every branch of our armed forces is setting records for recruitment. This is so exciting. And every service member recently. And every service member recently received a warrior dividend of $1,776. You know, they put it on my desk. We got the money from tariffs and other things, a lot of money we have. We have much more money than people understand. Have to rebuild that program a little bit, but it won't take long. But we got the money, and it was $1,775, and they wanted my approval. And I said, what's the number? $1,775. I said, wait a minute, for one more dollar, we can have $1,776. It's going to, I said, we're going to figure that. I never asked anybody if we could afford it. One more dollar, I said $1,776. And I said, that's good. And I'll tell you what, our military, that was 4 months ago, our military, I never see a person in the military that doesn't thank me for it. So we're honored to do it. They deserve it. And we call it 1776. It was great. And we love our military. We love our law enforcement. We love our firemen. You know, the firemen don't get mentioned enough. We love our firemen. We're also... We're also restoring American security and dominance in the Western Hemisphere, acting to secure our national interests and defend our country from violence, drugs, terrorism, and foreign interference. For years, large swaths of territory in our region, including large parts of Mexico, really large parts of Mexico, have been controlled by murderous drug cartels. That's why I designated these cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, and I declared illicit fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. And with our new military campaign, we have stopped record amounts of drugs coming into our country and virtually stopped it completely coming in by water or sea. You probably noticed that. We very seriously damaged their fishing industry also. Nobody wants to go fishing anymore. We've also taken down one of the most sinister cartel kingpins of all. You saw that yesterday. In January, elite American warriors carried out one of the most complex, spectacular feats of military competence and power in world history. No one's seen anything like it. Foreign leaders, I won't tell you who, called me and they said, very impressive, very impressive. They couldn't believe, they all watched, they saw what happened. This is a different fighting force that we had years ago when we fought to tie. You know, it's a great fighting force. I'm so proud of it. Look at Space Force. Space Force is my baby, because we did that. My baby is becoming so important. And America's armed forces overwhelmed all defenses and not only defeated an enemy, good fighters, to end the reign of outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro and bring him to face American justice. And this was an absolutely colossal victory for the security of the United States, and it also opens up a bright new beginning for the people of Venezuela. We're working closely with the new president of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, to unleash extraordinary economic gains for both of our countries and to bring new hope to those who have suffered so terribly. They really did suffer. With us tonight is Alejandro Gonzalez. She grew up in a tight-knit Venezuelan family and was especially close to her beloved uncle Enrique. But after Enrique ran for office and opposed Maduro, he was kidnapped by Maduro's security forces and thrown into the regime's really infamous prison in Caracas. Alejandro feared she would never see her uncle again. She feared for her own life also. But since the raid, we have worked with the new leadership, and they have ordered the closure of that vile prison and released hundreds of political prisoners already, with more to come. Alejandro, I'm pleased to inform you that not only has your uncle been released, but he is here tonight. We brought him over to celebrate his freedom with you in person. Enrique, please come down.
Wow. He knows how to put on a show, doesn't he?
Thank you, Enrique. Have a good time. Nice to have you back, Enrique. There were many heroes on that January raid to capture Maduro, really great heroes. It was very dangerous. They knew we were coming. They were all set. But the deeds of one warrior that night will live forever in the eternal chronicles of military valor. Chief Warrant Officer 5, Eric Slover, planned the mission and was the flight lead in the cockpit of the first helicopter, a big, beautiful, powerful helicopter. It was a massive Chinook carrying, as you can imagine, many, many American warfighters. Wearing the dog tags, his wife Amy had blessed with holy water before he left. She knew it was going to be a rough one. Eric steered the Chinook under the cover of night and descended swiftly upon Maduro's heavily protected military fortress. This was a major military installation protected by thousands of soldiers and guarded by Russian and Chinese military technology. How did that work out? Not too good. While preparing to land, enemy machine guns fired from every angle, and Eric was hit very badly in the leg and hip, one bullet after another. He absorbed 4 agonizing shots, shredding his leg into numerous pieces. And yet, despite the fact that the use of his legs was vital to successful helicopter flight, legs are the most important part of flying a helicopter, to deliver the many commandos who would capture and detain Maduro was the only thing Eric was thinking about. Then, even as he was gushing blood, which was flowing back down the aisle, helicopter lands at a steep angle. The machine guns stood right in front of him. They were right in front of him, 2 machine gunners who escaped the wrath of the previous planes. Eric maneuvered his helicopter with all of those lives and souls to face the enemy and let his gunners eliminate the threat. Turned the helicopter around so the gunners could take care of business, saving the lives of his fellow warriors from what could have been a catastrophic crash deep in enemy territory. Only after safely landing the helicopter with all the warriors aboard in the exact right spot, which was vital to the mission, probably would have had to maybe cancel the mission if that didn't happen. Eric told his co-pilot, also wounded, but not as gravely, to take over. I'm about ready to pass out. The success of the entire mission and the lives of his fellow warriors hinge on Eric's ability to take the searing pain. It was unbelievable what's happened to his legs of the bullets and keep on flying and landing, and people knew what was happening. Everybody in the back of the helicopter knew because they saw the blood pouring down the aisle. Chief Warrant Officer Slover is still recovering from his serious wounds, but I'm thrilled to say that he is here tonight with his wife, Amy. Eric and Amy, come on in. So we have a surprise, Eric and Amy. In recognition of Eric's actions above and beyond the call of duty, I would now like to ask General Jonathan Braga to present Chief Warrant Officer Slover with our nation's highest military award, the Congressional Medal of Honor.
Quite a story. Quite a story. That's a very large man, too. Can you imagine trying to get him out of the seat in the helicopter to render aid?
Well, thank you very much, Eric and Amy. Great to get to know you. I met with them and with a lot of their fellow warriors at Fort Bragg recently. You notice the name Fort Bragg. We have it back. We brought it back. We won the First World War with it, the Second World War with it, and then they decided to change the name. So we changed it back. Everybody wanted to change back too. And 10 of Eric's fellow warriors from that incredible night of victory will also be receiving medals at a private ceremony that will soon be held at the White House. And Eric will be there. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. That's a big one. Tonight we've celebrated many truly extraordinary American patriots, but there is one last living legend to honor before we go. He is one more heroic American aviator, Navy fighter pilot. Royce Williams served in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, flying more than 220 missions. In the skies over Korea in 1952, Royce was in the dogfight of a lifetime, legendary dogfight. Flying through blizzard conditions, his squadron was ambushed by 7 Soviet fighter planes. It was his first aerial combat of the war, and despite being massively outnumbered and outgunned, Royce led the takedown of 4 enemy jets and almost destroyed the others, vanquishing his adversaries while taking 263 bullets to his own plane and being seriously hurt. His story was secret for over 50 years. He didn't even want to tell his wife, but the legend grew and grew. But tonight, at 100 years old, this brave Navy captain is finally getting the recognition he deserves. He was a legend long before this evening. Royce, please stand up, and I will ask the First Lady of the United States to present Captain Royce Williams with his Congressional Medal of Honor.
What a life. What a life of service. It's amazing.
Thank you, Royce, and thank you, Eric. I've always wanted the Congressional Medal of Honor, but I was informed I'm not allowed to give it to myself, and I wouldn't know why I'd be taking it, but if they ever open up that law, I will be there with you someday. But you know, that's our highest honor, Congressional Medal of Honor, and that's a big thing, and it's an honor to be in the same room with you. Thank you both very much, Eric. Thank you.
Mr. President, you got to take a different path if you want to earn that medal.
Thank you. 250 years is a long time in the life of a nation, but in another sense, it's really a mere moment in the eye of history. Two of the gentlemen we met in the gallery this evening took their first breaths 1 century ago, 100 years before that, on July 4th, 1826, the author of the Declaration of Independence, brilliant, Thomas Jefferson, drew his last breath. Just a single long human lifespan separates the giants who declared and won our independence from the heroes who stand among us tonight. Everything our nation has done, everything we have achieved, has been the work of those few great lifetimes. In those brief chapters, Americans built this nation from 13 humble colonies into the pinnacle of human civilization and human freedom, the strongest, wealthiest, most powerful, most successful nation in all of history. Americans ventured out across the daunting and dangerous continent. We carved paths through an unforgiving wilderness, settled a boundless frontier, and tamed the beautiful but very, very dangerous Wild West. From empty marshes and wide open plains, we raised up the world's greatest cities. Together, we mastered the world's mightiest industries and shattered history's monstrous tyrannies. And we liberated millions from the chains of fascism, communism, oppression, and terror. Americans lifted humanity into the skies on the wings of aluminum and steel. And then we launched mankind into the stars on rockets powered by sheer American will and unyielding American pride. We wired the globe with our ingenuity. We captivated the planet with American culture. And now we are pioneering the next great American breakthroughs that will change the entire world. All of this and so much more is the enduring legacy, unmatched glory of the hardworking patriots who built and defended this country and who still carry the hopes and freedoms on all of humanity's backs. For years they were forgotten, betrayed, and cast aside, but that great betrayal is over and they will never be forgotten again, because when the world needs courage, daring, vision, and inspiration, it is still turning to America. And when God needs a nation to work his miracles, he knows exactly who to ask. There is no challenge Americans cannot overcome, no frontier too vast for us to conquer, no dream too bold for us to chase, no horizon too distant for us to claim. For our destiny is written by the hand of providence, and these first 250 years were just the beginning. From the rugged border towns of Texas to the heartland villages of Michigan, from the sun-kissed shores of Florida to the endless fields of the Dakotas, and from the historic streets of Philadelphia to right here in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., the golden age of America is upon us. The revolution that began in 1776 has not ended. It still continues because the flame of liberty and independence still burns in the heart of every American patriot. And our future will be bigger, better, brighter, bolder, and more glorious than ever before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
Well, the interesting times that we live, and I'm going to turn that sound down just a little bit. Interesting times that we we live in. Having a president stand up there and verbally combat with the left during the State of the Union speech is something else. I don't remember another president doing quite that in my lifetime. Maybe it's something that's happened previous, with Teddy Roosevelt. Somebody in the chat referenced Teddy Roosevelt, but he certainly was trolling those Democrats tonight. I was thinking about this when he was talking about illegal immigration and the voting and the SAVE Act that he was trying to promote. Yes, it's about elections, and I get that. I understand that the bill that they're trying to get passed is about IDs and elections. But this whole concept of illegal people being in the country and influencing what's happening, the bigger picture, longer play here is in this body that he's leaving right now, and that is the reapportionment that happens every decade with the census. And our Constitution doesn't make a distinction with regard to census and apportionment for the limited seats in the House, or in the House. It doesn't make a distinction between illegal and legal. So if you can pack the country and pack the urban areas, right? If you can pack the urban areas with illegal aliens, then you qualify for more seats in the House of Representatives than other portions of the nation. So this really is a urban-rural divide, but it's being to the tune of millions of people. It's fraud. It's fraud. You got a federal regime prior to Trump that was funneling money. And I do not believe for an instant that it was Somalis that came over here and figured this all out themselves and was able to get billions and billions of dollars, right? I don't believe that it was without help from Americans to make that happen. I don't believe it. I guess it's possible, but I don't believe that that's actually what happened. What I think is that there are left-leaning politicians and socialists in this country who want to see apportionment happen, where they get more votes, they get more seats in the House of Representatives based on the larger number of people coming in from out of our country. And that's what this is all about.
Thank you very much.
If you remove the illegal population, the population that's here illegally from our major urban centers, then those urban centers stand to lose seats in the House, and other states will gain them. Other seats that are not in the urban centers will stand to gain. And so this is something that is vitally important for the country. I'm being told that let's just pause this here. All right. Stop sharing the screen there. All right. Sorry, I turned down the audio, and maybe you guys were still able to hear the audio for the video. That was probably hard. So I think that the future of the nation with regard to elections and the SAVE Act is important, but getting rid of illegal aliens in this nation prior to the next census is critical. It's critical that they press hard and continue to remove illegal aliens out of this country. I think drying up the federal dollars that help support people who come and don't have jobs and are here illegally, I think drying up that federal support will make it easier for people to leave, to want to leave. But it's up to the majority here of Americans to demand that our representation in Congress is by legal immigrants, by citizens of this country, and not by people who are here illegally. I think it's an important distinction. And I applaud President Trump for continuing to push hard on that. So anyway, let's see. No LNG. So there was a rumor that we were going to hear something about Alaska LNG. And you know what? The rumor that I heard was that Trump is going to announce some kind of financing or federal monies towards the Alaska LNG project, a gas line. But I'm telling you, from all of the conversations that I had with AGDC board of directors, with Glenn Farn, CEO, with listening to what's happening in the industry, the dollars that are necessary to build the pipeline, the billions of dollars, 30 or 40 billion or whatever that number ends up being. I don't want to say that it's irrelevant, but the large number of dollars, the billions of dollars, that's actually the easy part. There's a lot of money out there that looks for steady projects like a gas line that has a steady return on investment measured over decades. And that money, as I was told, is the easy part to come by. So having the federal government actually needing to step up with some of that money, it doesn't make sense to me from what I've heard. I don't see that that's the necessary piece. What I see as necessary is the buyers and the sellers arrangements coming together, and what is the tax regime going to be? Is this going to be a profitable enterprise with regard to state, federal taxes? So our legislature could screw this up. I think our legislature could screw this up, and I hope that that's not the case, and I hope that they realize that the economics of the project is likely going to need us to take kind of an appetite suppressant on what we think we want to get from the project in the form of taxation, and realize that the economy benefits, our private economy benefits it's a greater benefit to actually have gas flowing to South Central Alaska and to the interior than what we would ever get and benefit from taxation, right? That economic engine, or the benefit to our economic engine, is greater than any sort of taxation that we would ever receive from the gas line. I hope that and just the concept of, we talk about food security in the state and realize how precarious we are with having to import all of our food. Well, what happens if we had to import all of our LNG, all of our gas, right? Not only is our food insecure, but now our heat is insecure. It is unfathomable to me that with a state that is so rich in resources, that's the alternative if we don't get this pipeline. It is amazing. We should not be dependent on others for energy in this state. And with cheap energy means we can grow our own food. We should be able to rely on ourselves for more of our food. Yes, we're not likely to be growing bananas in the state of Alaska anytime soon. Not going to happen. But the $2 or $3 billion that we send out of the state every year to buy some portion of the food, or all of the food, but some portion of those billions of dollars, to stay in the state and stay with the farmers and the grocers, and that would benefit our economy greatly if we could do just that. And you really need low cost energy to make that happen, both from a field perspective of irrigation or other electric costs, to processing, to cold storage, indoor greenhouse, indoor growing in greenhouses. All of that is necessary. You need low cost energy in Alaska to do that. So we see a push to get this LNG pipeline done. Those are the things that are going to benefit from it. It isn't just the taxes that we can get off of the project. I mean, that's like gravy. Having the low cost energy is actually what we need. So anyway, rumors were not true. We didn't hear anything from President Trump on the Alaska LNG project. So I don't know. I saw a master showman on this State of the Union, right? He knew exactly. I would suspect he knew exactly what was going to push the Democrat button here. And I would also like to say that if there are some hard feelings created tonight, then Trump has done his best. That if the Republicans in the nation screw this up and return Democrats to power, he's just given a whole lot of emotional energy to impeaching him and potentially removing him from office. Like, he has really stuck his finger in the eyes of a lot of legislators there in that room. So I sure hope that the nation does not do that. It would be bucking the trend. It would be bucking history, right? Normally the elections in the interim, the what is the word I'm looking for? The non-presidential elections. There's a word that's escaping me right at the moment. But this next election, usually you see the power change hands, and I hope that is not the case for our nation's sake. We have work to do to right this nation for law and order. And I would hate to see that entire thing gets thwarted because we change power in the legislature. The Biden years were horrible for Alaska, and Trump has blessed Alaska in many ways. The push, and I know that from the White House, the push to get the price of oil and the price at the pump down as low as possible, that's good for economic growth, and it should be good for Alaska. If we would also recognize that savings at the pump, it should be good for our economy. Obviously, it's not good for our state budget because the price of oil is directly related to our budget, right? But and this again points to the reason why we need a push for low-cost energy in the state of Alaska, so that our economic engine diversifies, so that low-cost oil then benefits the people who are doing something with it. Like if you had some sort of a fledgling petrochemical industry here in the state, it would be benefiting with lower cost oil. At the same time that the producers are struggling with lower cost oil, your petrochemical industry would be doing better because it's the input to their product is cost them less. It's something that could potentially happen in the state of Alaska because of low cost energy. What we do with our minerals, whether we put them on a barge and we ship them out of Alaska, or whether we're able to process them in Alaska, is largely dependent on whether we've got low-cost energy to be able to do that processing. Your Democrat Party in the state of Alaska's resolutions they passed a couple of years ago when Biden was in office was requesting Biden to help shut down the oil and gas industry in Alaska. If you don't believe me, go look up the resolutions on their website. That's what they wanted. So you have a change in the direction in our federal legislature. That could be our reality. A legislature that's not friendly to the state of Alaska. We got Trump for another 3 years, but after Trump, we could return. You get a Democrat elected in office, and we could return to those days where Alaska's shut down. Somebody asked me the other day, well, do you think that if we don't get the pipeline completely built by the time a Democrat replaces Trump, that they could shut the pipeline down? And I said, I don't think so. I think once it's already built and under construction, that it's a done deal at that point. But that doesn't mean that other exploration and filling the oil pipeline taps, it doesn't become a priority for a next administration. I mean, just like it was for Obama and Biden. They could care less whether we had development in Alaska. And I think this also plays right in, and I don't know, it's at 2.25 hours already that we've been sitting here, but this concept of permanent fund earnings and government growth, the possibility that you can see our government grow without having any sort of taxation, any kind of connection to our private economy, is really scary to me. Okay, I was talking about this earlier today on KSRM down here on Kenai on the Sound Off program with Dwayne Bannock, and there's a bill in the legislature. Sarah Vance sponsored this bill 213, House Bill 213, I think, that would change the way that members of the Permanent Fund Corporation board are seated. The governor gets to appoint, but with this bill, the public members would then be required to be confirmed by the legislature, by a majority of the legislature. And I think this is important because the direction of the Permanent Fund Corporation is the direction of our government, and we have to recognize that. That if you go to the Permanent Fund Corporation and website and look up their 2024 strategic plan, the first goal that they have listed there, and you're all going to be like, yeah, that makes complete sense. Their first goal is to get to $100 billion, get the fund to $100 billion. Okay, great. Why would we not be for that, right? I'm for it. Let's get it to $100 billion. Let's continue to grow the fund. That's what the purpose of the fund has been for many, many years since inception, was to grow, right? That's why we invest things. So we should have it grow. But why pick $100 billion? It's currently at $87 billion. I did some quick math thinking with AI and asked the question, how long does it take to get from 87 billion to 100 billion, given, you know, all of the other things stay equal, and past performance, you know, is a good predictor of future performance, which is not accurate for reality. But for argument's sake, how long would it take to get to $100 billion at this rate of growth? And it's only going to take 3 or 4 years. How long does it take to get from 100 billion to 200 billion? It isn't the same amount of time as it took to get from $0 to 100 billion. Compounding interest is a game changer here. So you're talking with less than 20 years. You're talking somewhere between 13, 16 years maybe. The fund would go from 100 billion to 200 billion. And you got to imagine that the Permanent Fund Corporation, you know, the board, Alaskans, once we reach 100 billion, they're not going to say, "Oh, well, we got enough now. We don't need to grow anymore." That's not likely to be said. What's likely to be said is we just keep going, just keep growing steady and sure, and into the future, and we'll grow. So what happens when we're 200 billion in my lifetime? What happens when we hand a state government over to our children, where the permanent fund itself is $200 billion? Okay, it's kind of hard to wrap our heads around right now, but what happens in that case? Well, with this structure that we're setting in place now, with a 5% market value draw, at $100 billion, we're drawing $5 billion every year off of the fund. Setting aside an argument as to whether that's the right number or not, I'm just, for argument's sake, that's what we've got. When the fund is $200 billion, we are drawing $10 billion for state spending. In our lifetime, that is a possibility. The structure we're setting up right now is to say, we don't want taxes in the state of Alaska. We do not want broad-based taxes. We would rather our state government be paid for with permanent fund earnings. Okay, that's interesting now. It is a different conversation when your permanent fund is $100 billion or if it's $200 billion. Because now you have a government that's being funded by an annual pull from the fund of $10 billion. Do we anticipate having a population growth necessary to grow our government to $10 billion in our kids' lifetime? Do we see that happening? Do we think we need a state government that's $10 billion? Meaning, just flip the equation around just a little bit. If limited government is what we really want, and liberty, personal liberty, is threatened the most by big government, then a government that is $10 billion of free money that's not connected to the private industry, is that really healthy for Alaska? You got to ask the question, with the political changes in the state, you know, equally a closely divided legislature, and you've got one half of this political equation that wants to see an oil industry go away. We're all going to die because global warming's happening, and the oil companies are the ones that are at fault. So let's get rid of the oil companies. Okay. When you've got a fund a permanent fund that's kicking off between $5 and $10 billion in our lifetime, do we need the $1 billion that's coming from the oil industry, or $2 billion that's coming from the oil industry? Like right now, the oil industry is 17% of our revenue. Permanent fund earnings is 40% of our revenue. The rest of it is largely federal dollars. So we're working towards a structure in our state government where you don't need oil revenue, you don't need revenue from the private economy. We as citizens can say, hey, look at us. We've got the permanent fund. We don't have to pay taxes. And the people who demand to be taken care of by government can continue to demand it, more and more service from government, and they can provide it. The government can provide it because it's got an increasing amount of money every year to do so. This year, our Legislative Finance Division is saying that we have approximately $200 million more from permanent fund earnings than we did last year. So using this as an example, the government, all other things being equal, and it's not this year because the price of oil is down and we're not expecting to have as much oil revenue as we did last year. But let's just make the argument that says that's irrelevant. You've got a permanent fund that grows, and now state government has $200 million more to spend. What a dollar figure did we squabble over here just recently on education taxes, on raising the BSA? 230 million, something like that. Every year, we can have an increasing size of our government and a government spend with the structure that we are setting up right now. It isn't taxes that is the greatest threat to our prosperity and our kids' prosperity. It is the size of our government that's the threat. We got to have a serious conversation about getting the incentives right for our legislature to care about our private economy. I can foresee a private economy that exists to serve the state government. And that's it. You've got people that want to see oil and gas go away, or at least the oil drilling go away. And if we don't have a petrochemical industry in this state, then we don't really need oil. We'll just import gasoline from somewhere. We'll import LNG if we don't have a pipeline, right? We'll just import it. And there's other people in the state that want to see the state get locked up. Like, we don't want development. We don't want economic growth. We want this to be a national park. And this is across the aisle. This is not just it isn't a Democrat or Republican thing. There are Democrats and Republicans that would like to see that. For our tourism industry, we don't want to see economic diversification. We like a pristine Alaska that attracts people into the state of Alaska. So if you're going to live here, and I'm not, this isn't speculation outside of the realm of possibility, right? We are spending permanent fund earnings greater than any other source of taxation in the state. And we have both Republicans and Democrats that would rather rely upon permanent fund earnings than institute new taxes. Although there are more Democrats that would be okay with another tax. You have more Republicans elected into the legislature than you do any other political party. But those Republicans are against any sort of taxation. So this is the direction we're headed. We're headed to permanent fund earnings paying for our state government and completely disconnected to any reality in the private economy. Yay, we win, no taxes, but we've got a perpetually growing state government. We got to come to reckoning with this, because now, this year, maybe the next 2 years, 3 years, as the crisis in funding, the low, before any kind of development on the North Slope and an increase in the production of oil results in more money coming to the state coffers through oil revenue. Before that happens, we've got this period of time where we're financially, we've got a problem, right? This is why the dividend goes away, because we don't have another solution. If you don't create another tax then the government is going to consume the permanent fund earnings because nobody wants another tax. And you don't have elected members in the legislature or the governor at this point that's going to cut spending. We can put a governor in place that says they're going to cut spending, but if you don't have a legislature that backs them up, they're not going to cut spending. The legislature will just override them. The governor can cut from the budget, but the legislature can override his cuts and keep the money in the budget. So if we need to think about what's healthy for the state of Alaska, healthy for our private economy. And it is, and in my estimation, it is not a thinking that says, well, our economy is going to be best served if we have zero taxation and we just allow the state government to grow at the size of the permanent fund. I think that is similar to what is happening at the federal level. Can you see that permanent fund earnings and the demand from people who are addicted to state spending, the dependency state, citizens who are dependent on state spending? Can you see how permanent fund earnings being free money, meaning there's not a taxpayer that is critical of spending choices, and our federal legislature, a congressional policy of unbalanced budgets, just, a quarter of our budget is financed by debt. The same thinking is going on there. We'll just answer the constituent, the dependency state, the dependency nation. We'll just answer it with more spending, and we don't have to raise taxes because we'll just print money and go into debt. It's a similar effect as what we're setting up in the state of Alaska with the permanent fund, this dependency state. The battle that has to be fought is the battle where the government comes to the people and says, we want more money. If you want more government services, then you have to pay for it. That's the battle that we have to fight. That is the healthy battle that needs to be fought every year. Avoiding that battle means you just throw in the towel and allow government to grow because you've got a source of free money. That doesn't make us healthy. Doesn't make our economy healthy. As a matter of fact, there's an inverse factor here, because more growth, more people is actually a negative for the state budget. There's more people come into the state with the current structure. More people come in, more kids go into schools, more roads, more vehicles on the roads, more people on state health care, right? An increase in your population actually hurts the budget because it's more demand. And there's no connection to those people coming in, that there's new revenue coming to the state budget. So from one perspective, you can say, well, we really don't want more people in the state of Alaska. We really don't want more growth because that burdens the system without any kind of direct connection for recompensation. You got a growing tourism in the state. Those tourists don't pay for state services that they consume. They don't pay for the roads. Locally, yes, you've got taxation locally that increases, but at the state budget level, you don't. So we're headed in that direction where the state budget is going to be 100% in the future, right? I'm talking a decade. 100% of the state budget is going to be paid for by the permanent fund earnings. You don't need oil revenue. You won't need it. How does that shift the dynamics of the conversation in the state of Alaska and with regard to maintaining an oil industry? If the legislature doesn't care because they don't really need the money, then you're just an election away from having enough people that have the political will to eliminate oil production from doing so. shutting it down. And we know that is a goal of some people. I'm scrolling back through the messages here. I'm going to climb down off my soapbox and see what you guys have to say. Pipeline's been in discussion since the 50s. Yeah, it is closer now than it's ever been. And I think we're going to see it move forward. That's just my thinking on this. Midterm. Thank you. Midterm elections. Who is that? You answered my question. I didn't see it, Craig, but thank you. Midterm elections is what I was trying to come up with. Appreciate that. Really hope this fires up more to vote Republican. Corey, I tentatively agree with you, but the question in my mind is, what does it mean to be a Republican? Because there are Republicans in the legislature right now that people in certain districts might say, oh, they're Republican, I'm going to support them. But those Republicans have actually empowered the Democrats, and they want more of what the Democrats want than what Republicans want. So it isn't enough in the state of Alaska to say, we'll just vote for Republicans, because that's what we got now, and we got no direction going forward. Like, the plan now is the status quo. It is erase the permanent fund dividend and ensure that the permanent fund earnings is supporting state government. That is the plan going forward. Yeah, the right Republicans. I mean, you really do have to spend the time to get to know your candidates and find out what they actually want to see accomplished. This is a message that I've been trying to communicate to people. It was like, we've got to have unity. We can't have this infighting and squabbling within the party, within any organization that you want. Imagine if you've got a football team that's trying, or some sports team that's trying to win the national championship, and you've got infighting within the players on the team. You're not going to win. Like, you have to be all working together in the positions that you're assigned or your role in the team, and you have to be all oars in the water rowing in the same direction if you're going to win as a team, right? So we have this conversation that says, hey, we need unity. We need unity. We all need to be unified. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's like an incomplete sentence. Yes, we need to be unity, but what over what? Like, unified over our logo, unified over we're Republican. Yay, we get more Republicans elected than Democrats, and so we're unified in that. That's going to solve the problem. No, we need to be unified in purpose. This is why you would have a political party. It's not just win elections. You get this badge of honor that says, hey, we won more elections than you guys did. So what? We need to have unity in purpose. What is the purpose of having an organization work together to get a certain type of people elected? Because there's some policy that we need to have enacted in the state. We want our culture, the propagation of our society and the economic diversification, these things that we think we want, those all have to be part of the unity. They have to be the unity in purpose. So what is it that Republicans are unifying over? You, the voter, have to know. Like, you need to ask the question, what is it that you're unifying over? We just get enough of Republicans in office and then things will be different? That's not the case now. It's not the case now. We've got more Republicans in the state of Alaska elected than we do Democrats. There has to be more to unity than just a label. There has to actually be unity in purpose, or unity of purpose, however you want to phrase it. JD, Marco, or DeSantis will come up next. One of them will keep America. Yeah, that's an interesting, as I'm watching what's happening there, I'm like, who has the room is not JD Vance. It was Marco Rubio. Like, he stood up and recognized, and then he sat down. Like, he's exhibiting power in that room, like nobody but President Trump is doing. I think he's the front runner for this next go around. Would be my guess here. I don't know what deal has been worked in the background. I mean, obviously the vice president is normally you're more likely to take over for the president, but Marco Rubio he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the next time if he decides to go that route. Yeah, Robert, this is the point. With a natural gas pipeline, we can have more development. And this is where the whole national security piece comes in, because we know we're dependent on China for some really critical minerals that we could be pulling out here in Alaska, but we don't have roads and we don't have energy. Like, these are third world problems. These are third world problems in a first world country. Energy? Just build a coal plant, put in a hydroelectric dam. These are things that China's doing in a ongoing basis, building energy, putting it in, and we're behind in the AI race from what I can tell. I was just listening to a talk by Elon Musk, and he's like, no, China's beating us in the AI race. It's not about data centers, it's about energy. Data centers run on the energy, and this, we heard Trump talking about this in the State of the Union speech, where the federal government is now going to tell tech companies that you can't rely upon the grid and existing power sources for your AI data center plans. You've got to build your own energy source. You have to factor in. You can't increase the costs and increase the burden on Americans for this, right? So this is kind of a wet blanket in sorts. I mean, it is and it isn't, but it's acknowledging that we don't have the energy infrastructure to power what we need to compete with other countries, namely China. Building energy facilities is something that needs to happen. Needs to happen in Alaska. It needs to be a priority for the legislature to enable that. Whatever it is that needs to happen to make that happen is something that the legislature should care about. How many bills, right? The legislature acts upon bills, a budget bill, a policy bill. How many bills are detailing with energy? Oh, you're funny. You said my show's only 17 minutes in. So I just came on early and you guys are all expecting another hour here, huh? Oh, that's funny. Good point. PFD board should all have a degree and experience in finance. So the statute requires certain things of the board members. It says that they should have experience in finance and other things. But let me just play devil's advocate here for a second. The board and the permanent fund corporation hire subject matter experts to go and do the investment, to manage the funds. Okay? What I think we really need in the board are people who understand history, and they understand cause and effect. They understand incentives. They understand the politics of the state. They understand that if you're going to push for a state government that is completely funded by your permanent fund, then you are setting up a socialist, dare I say communist, but at least a socialist utopia. Who calls the shots? Do any of you expect to ever be asked or be considered to be on the permanent fund corporation board to help determine the direction of the investment strategy of the of the state. Okay? If the investment strategy of the state is the thing that gives us more or less money for our state government, if that's the direction we're headed, then the value of those seats on the permanent fund corporation go way up. Do you have any hope of being on that board? If we pass this bill, Sarah Vance's bill, and I think there's bipartisan support for this. If we pass that bill, then our representatives in the legislature will have a say as to who sits on that board. What if we just elect a bunch of socialists on that board, and they take us in the direction, they take the permanent fund and help the government move in the direction where we've got a socialist government that's funded by free money? I think it's more important for people to be on the board that have a conservative, limited government mindset. Take that into the permanent fund corporation and ask the hard questions and say, wait a second. How is this policy decision, how is this investment decision helping our private economy? Because it's not. There's not well, if it does, it's through government service. It's through roads. It's through some sort of capital spending, right? That's going to help with the private economy. It's through good quality schools. We're spending more than any other state per capita on education, and we've got the worst results. You want to spend more? That's the direction we're headed. That's the status quo. That's where we'll go. So I'm not sure that the qualification for the board is necessarily somebody who's wisest in investments, but in hiring people that are wise in investments and keeping a broader perspective on what's the purpose of the fund and how do we establish a government that's responsive to the people and to the private economy. I think I want people who represent that thinking to be on the board. What is the, Corey, you're saying for public servants by choice, mind you, all of their salaries with add-ons is too much. That's why they won't leave office. Well, I'm painting a picture that in the future, the good jobs in the state are going to be government jobs because it's the only sure thing. Like outside of a service industry that services the state government, your good jobs are going to be state jobs. They're the ones that are going to have a growing amount of money every year through permanent fund earnings. Yeah, I mean, your point is well taken. If the PFD is gone, then it's the biggest tax we'll pay because the statute says you're supposed to get this money, right? So in lieu of paying taxes, you gave up your dividend. Well, what happens when that statute goes away and the whole dividend program goes away and it's no longer in existence? Then there's no statutory claim that there's any kind of tax happening. That structure doesn't exist anymore, right? That's what's going to happen. They'll just zero out the statute, delete it. You'll read it and it'll say amended, deleted 2027 or whatever, right? There will be no more dividend program and no claim to individual checks from the permanent fund corporation. That's the structure that we're moving towards, right? The legislature ignores the statute right now, but eventually they could just change the statute and then there would be no moral claim or no legal claim to that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is the bigger argument here is more people are interested in saying no to taxes than yes to a dividend. And that gets us down the road of a government that's completely funded by permanent fund earnings. That's what it gets us. it doesn't really matter that the PFD is zeroed out at that point. That it's already gone. In my mind, it's already gone. Like it's going to happen. There's no alternative. You don't have an alternative unless you cut government spending by $1 billion or raise revenue somewhere else, raise taxes somewhere else. It's gone. It is going to go away. As a small business owner, we are already struggling with the cost of business, taxes, medical insurance, business insurance, utilities. It's a real struggle. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the cost of doing business in Alaska is part of that struggle, right? High cost energy. As soon as you have low cost energy, then a lot of your inputs in business become more reasonable, more affordable because of the downward, like everything in the business chain becomes less expensive because of the lower cost of energy. Corey asks, why can't money be earmarked for certain uses? Okay, it's a good question. We have a constitutional provision that is a prohibition against dedicated funds. So unless you have a fund that is dedicated for a particular purpose or a set of money, a grouping of money, an account, unless you have that fund in the Constitution that says this is the purpose of this fund and this is the only way that you can spend money out of this fund, this is the direction that it has to, the only place that the legislature can spend the money. The legislature cannot establish a fund that is dedicated to a particular purpose. So in the state, we get around that by calling it designated. So you will see on the budget documents, UGF, general fund, and then you will see DGF, designated general funds. They're both state money. It's still state general funds, but one of these is designated. By statute, there's a law that says you're supposed to do this with the money. The permanent fund dividend is a designated fund. The permanent fund dividend account fund, right? There's an actual fund that you can transfer money into for the purpose of paying dividends. That is a designated fund because it's not constitutionally protected. So the legislature, because it has the power of appropriation, it can't bind over future generations or future legislatures with a financial decision. The next legislature has just as much authority to say yes or no to previous spending as the past legislature does. And the Constitution tells us that we can't dedicate funds unless you amend it into the Constitution. That's why you can't earmark money consistently for certain purposes. So any of your gubernatorial candidates, if they're going to get specific about their plans, you can think that it would make it harder for some people to support a candidate if they have offensive plans. So the default of the safer play is to keep your plans close hold and tell people what they want to hear in order to get them to vote for you. So it is a challenge to discern what the candidate actually is, how they're actually going to govern. Because if you came out and said, hey, what we really need is a fiscal plan. We really need to have a reordering of our structure. We really need to have a new tax of some kind, and we really need to have some spending cut. There's constituencies in both of those areas that aren't going to like that. So they're not going to vote for you. So it's much safer as a strategy for getting elected to not detail those plans and just speak in generalities. So, but then for the voter, you're like, well, you're tickling my ear, right? You're telling me what I want to hear. I can't really tell how you're actually going to govern. Do you actually cut the budget? I mean, Governor Dunleavy ran on reducing the budget. And then he reduced the budget his first year, and then the establishment, all the unions, everybody got upset because he was going to reduce the budget, and they threatened a recall on him. And so now he didn't reduce the budget. He kept pressure down and didn't spend as much as somebody else might have, which is an advantage. But he wasn't successful in reducing the budget. No. In the 6 years I was in the legislature, the budgets that we approved and the budgets that the governor asked for increased the number of positions by 600. 600 more state workers in 6 years. You do the math. 100 positions a year? Well, why do we need 100 more positions every year in state government? $600 million more from Dunleavy's first budget to when the budget that I left in personnel services, where your pay and benefits line goes. $600 million. We actually grew the spending for state employees over that time period. So no, yes, there was a downward pressure on the budget, but there wasn't a cutting of the budget. So the next governor that comes in and says, well, I'm going to cut the budget. We're going to find and cut the budget. Okay. Well, then if you do it the same way that Dunleavy did it, imagine that you're going to get a recall effort. And are you going to survive that? It's roll of the dice. It's a crapshoot. Why does it have to be a one size fits all? Maybe it's different types of energy for different areas depending on the local resources. Oh, I don't disagree with that. I just think that South Central Alaska has got access to coal, massive amounts of coal, and it's got access to hydroelectric power in the form of alpine lakes or rivers. And yes, we can find rivers that aren't going to affect salmon. I believe that's possible. I just think that those are the two most likely and most reliable proven sources of energy that we could tap into. I mean, you're going to spend billions of dollars on state services over the next decade. If the worst thing that we did was spend billions of dollars on new energy, at least we've got new energy and something to show for it rather than perpetual programs and more dependency on state government. They're going to spend, the legislature's going to spend the money anyway. I'm not making an argument that we need to be a big government spend money on state-owned energy sources. I'm not making that argument. I think that there is a way for a similar organization, similar to AGDC, to say, how can I get the economic interest that would be here if we had low cost energy, like a data center or a mineral processing of some sort? How can I connect them to the decision or the financiers for building a power project? President Trump just identified this, right? He just said, if you're going to build a data center, you got to build your energy source with it. You cannot rely upon the local or state production of energy in that area. Okay. So all we would need to do to get this ball rolling, to seed it, to encourage it, is an organization similar to how we did with the gas pipeline. Yes, it cost us money because we got to pay somebody to go do it. But the point is, we want low cost energy so that our private economy has better business inputs. It benefits our private economy. Is that worth spending some of our state revenue on to encourage that to happen? How would it happen otherwise? in the private sector, in a market only driven situation, the demand would be there and the private interest would figure out how to get it done. Well, we could wait on that, or we could do what we've done with the gas line and try to pull it along if that's the maximum we can do. I am not for a state-run energy source. I do not want to see that. I think that would be the worst thing that we could do. But I think that there's a room for the state to encourage it. Regulations. This whole concept of not being able to build a road to a dam or to a mine or to that's got to change. Building roads is like the thing that government does for people for economic activity to happen. Like Rome was building roads that empowered Rome to grow, like to be prosperous. Building roads this is not rocket science, and this is not new. Human beings have been building roads for a long time. Alaskans are our own worst enemy, and we're killing ourselves because we can't build a road to where we need to go. Like, we got to figure this out. Oh, you're talking about unity. Regarding unity, it doesn't have to be a one size fits all. Yes. Now I follow what your train of thought is. Because we have so many Republican candidates for governor, there doesn't appear to be unity. You're right. And if you start to break this down, out of all of the candidates for the gubernatorial race, there's only 4 seats that come out of the primary, right? So we got to whittle it down to 4. Well, you got to know that the left is going to vote in this election, and they're going to vote in large enough numbers that one of those seats is likely going to be a left seat, right? So you got really 3 Democrat candidates that they're going to be vying for one or more of those seats. Then you've got, on the other end of the spectrum, you've got some, strong conservative candidates that are going to be vying for another seat. And then somewhere in the middle, you've got other candidates that are going to be vying for the other 2 seats. So what actually happens if you've got a whole bunch of conservative candidates and they all battle each other for a seat, but they don't have enough to beat the Democrats or the moderates? Then you end up with the only choice you have at the end is moderates or Democrats. Because we've whittled down and diluted our votes in the primary with so many conservative candidates. Democrats only got 3 candidates. They're pretty much assured to get one of those seats coming out of the primary if they just do that. Question in my mind is, how does the union vote matter in this election? Because you've got Click Bishops that's going to be heavily favored by the unions. But the unions also, the membership usually also votes Democrat. So if you've got 3 Democrats running and Click Bishop, and then you got moderate Republicans, how does the union vote get split between the Democrats and the pro-union Republican? That's going to be interesting to see. But this whole concept of throwing in a whole bunch of people, it ends up watering down the vote for conservatives. So it doesn't benefit conservatives in this regard. If you only had one conservative and a whole bunch of moderates, then the whole bunch of moderates would actually dilute down the chances for the moderate to get in. We do it to ourselves. Don't expect, and I know that this doesn't make a lot of sense from a we the people perspective, but the game of getting elected, the message that it takes to get elected is different than the message that you govern with. That isn't right, but that's the way it is. Like, for example, let me just explain it, right? How much time do I have with every given voter to explain my situation, what I stand for, what I want to do. The time is, I don't get 15, 20 minutes to sit down and have a 15, 20-minute conversation with most voters. I don't get that. So if explaining how I'm going to govern takes 15 minutes, I don't get it. I have to find a different message that's going to resonate with that voter without doing that, because I won't get 15 minutes. I only get 30 seconds. I only get a minute. I only get one flyer that somebody might see, right? My message has got to be a whole lot more condensed and refined than what's actually necessary to explain the nuances of actually governing. So getting elected is a different process than explaining how I'm going to govern. Just the reality. Yeah, both Democrats and Republicans in other states don't want ranked choice voting. Click Bishop is not an R. He doesn't follow the party platform and is for ranked choice voting. Well, technically, he is an R because he calls himself a Republican. He registered as a Republican when he filed for election to the governor's race. So on the ballot, it will say Republican. So technically speaking, he's a Republican in every way that matters for the election. Now, he may not show up to any Republican meetings. He may not care too much about the Republican platform. He may not choose to work with Republicans in the legislature or do anything conservative, right? Those are not requirements to be a Republican in an election. It's not. The Republican Party doesn't control that. The state doesn't control it. The candidate does. The candidate just says, I am or I am not a Republican. They get to choose. And the voter gets to decide whether they actually stand for the things that you think they stand for. Yeah, I think we're rapidly approaching the point where we need to have the conversation about getting around one conservative candidate if you want to see a conservative candidate win in the primary. I think that's what matters. And I hope that we can maintain the relationships where these people that are the movers and shakers that want to be part of the solution, that they'll serve in the administration as a commissioner or in some other capacity to help the eventual winner govern better, because we're going to need good thinkers to come around and pursue together as an elected team. I mean, that's one of the challenges we've got with Governor Dunleavy is making sure that the help that he hires is actually going to carry his mission forward. Do I really need to spell this out? The difference between a Republican moderate and a progressive Republican? I mean, you've got financially and you've got not financially, I guess, is the way that I would break it down if I have to explain this. You've got financial issues and social issues. So if we're speaking specifically about finance, then a moderate Republican is going to be more comfortable with increased government spending, with more government spending. That's in a spectrum, being if you're a socialist or a Democrat, you're very interested in additional taxation and more government spending, creating dependency, right? That's what you're interested in. So a moderate is somewhere between that and the conservative that says, you know what? I want more individuality and individual responsibility. I want less government spending. This is the spectrum that exists. And we see Republicans, Democrats on either end, and then Republicans, Democrats somewhere in the middle, and they are each a flavor of some. So a moderate Democrat and a moderate Republican, I don't know, pretty much believe the same thing fiscally. Then if you add to that the equation, the cultural thing or the non-fiscal policies like abortion or healthcare or other issues, right? Other social issues, LGBTQ and DIE and all of these other things, then you've got this spectrum again, and somewhere in the middle you've got a moderate that believes a little bit of that. You got to look at it as the spectrum. Republican is still on the spectrum. Democrats are still on the spectrum, but Democrats don't come nearly as far to the right or to the conservative side as Republicans do to the left. And it all, from a fiscal perspective, I mean, this is what matters because that's what the legislature does. It's the controls the purse. Those who want to see additional state spending fall into that Democrat / moderate Republican stance. And in some cases, even conservative Republicans still want to see their pet project funded in the state legislature. I know conservative Republicans that have something to do with horizontal construction, road construction, that are saying, hey, we better have state spending because we need to have our business working too. So even conservatives, like this is where you get the whole not in my backyard. Cut the budget, but don't cut it in my backyard. Cut it somewhere else where somebody else is affected, but don't do something that's going to impact my livelihood. That's anyway, the difference. If the difference between a Republican moderate and a progressive Republican, and you throw the word rhino in there and you just get everybody all discombobulated because it's a label. But moderates versus progressives. And I don't know how many progressive Republicans, I guess you could probably call the ones that are working with the Democrats, call them the progressive Republicans. I guess if you got to put a label on them. Chuck Kopp, progressive Republican. He's nowhere near a conservative Republican. But again, you got to know who you're dealing with, and whether they call themselves Republican or Democrat doesn't really mean anything. If you call yourself an independent, former Representative Laddie Shaw has the best description for an independent. It's a Democrat in the witness protection program, right? There isn't a such thing as an independent. Remember, I'm talking about a political spectrum for the legislature is we want to spend less money from the right or we want to spend more money from the left. An independent is just another label for somebody that falls on that spectrum. You're either independent and conservative spend less, or you're independent liberal spend more. Like, it doesn't mean that you're somehow above the fray and you don't have an opinion on how we should spend. Like, you're still going to fall on the spectrum somewhere. Just because you call yourself independent doesn't mean you're somehow morally superior to people who are honest about their perspective on whether they're pro or pro spending or against spending. Yeah. All right, guys. I have to call it a quits here. I am running at 3 hours and 10 minutes that I have been live today. So I am going to call it quits. I appreciate you joining me. It was fun watching the State of the Union with you, and I have had a good time answering your questions and continuing to push the needle, so to speak, in the conservative direction here. Again, if you're watching the video and have questions, email me if you want to. There's the email address, producer@oversightlive.com, and I'll do my best to get you an answer. We'll be back tomorrow night, Lord willing. See what we have to talk about. So until then, you guys have a good night, and we'll chat with you later.